Okay, let's gonna move on. Now we're Ashton, and we know that parties have never been really my thing. They're always such a hassle and take so much time off my day. Other prior plans and commitments cancelled, all for the sake of playing along with others.
Welcome, welcome everyone.
Oh wow, we start here? At the party? I hated them, even as a child.
Please make yourselves at home.
My mom often insisted on dressing me up for these when I was a little boy. She'd slick my hair back, put me in one of those stuffy dinner jackets, and if there were any children around, urged me to make friends. Never mind how utterly loud or tedious it can be. It was all for the sake of keeping up appearances, pretending to play nice with others. To some extent, lies and intrigues, whatever, have already surrounded me, long before I've chosen what I wanted to do with my life. Luckily, there are easy ways to tune everything out, and much to my mom's frustration, I've always managed to sneak my CD player along back then. I kept to myself and to my music, had my own little world, until I learned to observe. Sure, all it took was Mom confiscating my player during one social function. But when left with nothing better to do, watching people appeared a much interesting activity. More so than feigning a curious face, while a snot-nosed kid babbled on about his shiny new toy. In fact, it still is. It's a simple matter of awareness, really. And for someone with keen eyes, a skewed necktie or a simple flick of wrist alone can tell volumes about a person. I still don't like parties, especially ones as big and fancy as the Wright's housewarming. However, when there's actual reason to go to them, I figure they're not too bad.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Besides, like it or not, it's all part of the job. I'm here on a mission. One that has the name Luke Wright plastered all over it. So what is my relationship? Now that I think about it. High on Zachary, of course Isabella, no love for Luke, or Hannah, the same as Marianne. So, close friends. You'll think the man will want to remain inconspicuous after his name has been linked to several high-profile crimes across Luxport. High profile? Granted, most of it have gone cold over the years, having stagnated without any lead or evidence, but it still doesn't make him any less suspect. Yet, here he is, throwing a party in his own backyard. Although having observed the man this past year, I'm not even shocked. He craves it, damn spotlight, constantly yearns for attention like a neglected puppy. Ooh. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why he's nowhere to be found in his own party. He's likely waiting for an opportunity, a grand entrance. But that's not the problem here. What pisses me off is how far his reach extends, how close he has creeped into the lives of the people I care about. Again, like a stubborn itch you can't be rid of. First, Professor Clark. Oh, we can learn more about that. Then, there's Isabella. I also spotted a Z-Man around here a while ago, and now there's also Rebecca. Apparently.
Ashton?
Becca? What are you doing here?
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
That explains things. And makes this difficult all the same. As if getting a contact among the staff to sneak a name into the guest list isn't hard enough. Oh, that's how. The guy would have almost ditched me last night. Might have placed another setback on my investigation if it isn't for the generous tip. Then here comes Rebecca, another person to mind.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
Unnecessary lie. I can't bring my own friends into this. You're just like Isabella. Any further than what they've found themselves in. Because if Luke Wright so much as harm a hair on either Zach's or Rebecca's head, there will be hell to pay. Worrying about Isabella's brief dealings with them is stressing in itself already. I doubt he'll attempt anything in front of other people though. Any untoward action will tarnish his glorious reputation with his peers, and he values appearances more than anything. Prefers to do whatever disposal necessary as quietly as possible, away from the limelight. That doesn't necessarily mean he isn't capable of doing so. More than, in fact, and on the off chance he pulls a stunt, I won't be responsible for my actions.
That's rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can...
Cute. She's cute. For Zach's and Rebecca's sakes, however, I really hope this'll simply be another housewarming, even though something tells me it's anything but. Call it a detective's institution or whatever. When Luke Wright's involved, nothing good has ever come out of it. I simply can't let my guard down here. More so when, nearby, a familiar car slows to a stop, and out comes...
Chief?
My presence here might be odd at best, but I have an excuse. One, that the man standing a few meters away from me handed himself a year ago. Served up on a plate, no less, along with a heavy helping of flattery for the newly promoted detective inspector. Can't exactly say the same for my good old boss, can I? Although, to see him here, chatting it up with Luxborn's rich and famous isn't such a big surprise in itself. No disrespect meant, but the guy is obviously a social climber. What is surprising is the fact that he seems all too eager to mingle with a person of interest's wife. Just what the hell is he doing here?
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca. I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about...
What the shit is going on here?
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
I don't want to draw attention to myself either. At least not until he's giving me proper reason to spoil his little party.
Thank you for the invite, Anna. Husband still missing, I see?
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee. The doctors again?
For now, the best I can do is wait, blend in the crowd, and remain inconspicuous to cast less suspicions about myself. Zach and Rebecca too, as much as possible. Even if it means having to pretend I don't know them, and forcing myself to rub elbows with people I barely know, let alone like. I can't involve them, especially with the added risk of having Chief here, whose motives are dubious at best. Wandering is out of the question this early as well, when there are guards and civvies stationed here and there to make sure noisy guests don't go about unattended. Going past them is something I can do with ease, but I'd rather not right now, when I'm one of the few snooping and roaming about. It'll be best to try and do so when there's a crowd of people. and if their interior designer's drunken claims are to be believed.
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
He's around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing.
It'll all come down to how well I'll play my cards tonight. With a good hand, this party is going to give me the breakthrough I need to crack Luke right, or something to prove my suspicions wrong. Either or. Maybe find out what kind of game my boss is also playing. I had an inkling before, a few hunches tempered down by how much of a babbling fool the man appears, in spite of his rank in the force. But one does not simply deal with the rights and get invited to a party they host without wanting anything from either of the two, or the other way around. So, with a last wary glance at the two, I head into the ballroom where the party is at. I just hope this will not complicate things further. Shit. By the time the party comes into full swing, night has fallen, and yet there still isn't a Luke right in sight. I'm aware, and likely the rest of the upper class Lexborn, how ostentatious the man can be, whatever. Frankly, I'm impressed. I don't even know how many horse devours I've gotten my hands on and stuffed my face with during the wait. I probably had too many deviled eggs, and voila went as it is. The servers are already giving me a stink eye every time I saunter over the buffet table. Blame your employer, not me. He's the one who has the guts to show up late. Besides, most of the guests' idle talk is concentrated in this area. Since I'll be stuck in this wall room for a while, I might as well keep an ear out for any useful info a gossip might let slip. Despite standing in the same roof with the very people they're whispering about, some just can't resist.
Is Suarez still fixing that tech problem?
Tech problem.
It's been 3 years. Sooner or later, the Blighter will put 2 and 2 together.
He might have already.
If the red tape I'm being slammed with these past months suggests anything, that or someone has been pulling the strings, I wouldn't be shocked. This case would not have gone this long if Scumbag doesn't have a mule of some kind in the force.
Shush you, we all know Suarez just wants an out.
I knew he was bad news the day the merger with Evans Incorporated happened.
Feh, glad I did not have to deal with that. But keep it down, someone might hear, the wife especially.
This kind of negligence is always an advantage for me. However, at times, I wish I can be smashed drunk while doing so. Ha! Having sharp ears also means hearing the most unsavory things. Who cheated on who this week? One person's motive for bashing another skull against the wall, or a father's excuse for burning his own daughter alive. Those sort of stuff. Jesus. After a few years, it gets tiring. You get desensitized at some point, yes, but humans can be downright awful. Sometimes there just isn't enough brain bleach in the world. Sadly, the wine I have on hand is a no-go tonight, mostly for show. I'm up for another drive later, for one, and I definitely want to be sober in case anything comes up. And something always comes up in assignments like this, no matter how routine and peaceful things may be. A detective inspector dying of cardiac arrest, for example. Because I can feel the moment my heart grinds to a halt, and the second I shift my eyes to a corner of the ballroom. There, Rebecca stands right next to
Hana Wright.
Some will point out I'm acting a touch bit paranoid, and maybe I am. This is a party and she's the hostess. It goes to say she'll take time to mingle with her guests. But Hana Wright Nee Evans isn't a woman without her fair share of accolades. At least to the public, she isn't. Unlike her spouse, she's the one with the business sense, not to mention the impressive track record needed to manage a company, or effectively hide whatever irregularity there might be. Although she's clean, as far as my agents and I have found, it doesn't rule her out her possible involvement with whatever her husband's up to. Even with Z-Man's personal opinion of the woman, certain gut feelings you really can't easily shake off. Hell, Luke Wright came out clean according to previous reports, until I bothered to take a deeper look into them. The official records may say otherwise, but people will be surprised by how much a random busybody knows about their employer. What I gleaned may not be sufficient to bring anyone to trial, yet, but enough to nurture suspicion. Assuming the worst may be a bit of an overaction, as I walk calmly towards them, but one doesn't last as long as I have in my line of work by being careless.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Just some small talk then. Nothing to be worried about, like I initially thought. In fact, she's probably even more careful with appearances than her own husband. Knows how to handle herself in front of so many potential witnesses, having grown up with the spotlight focused on her. Yet, even knowing that, the anxiety stays. It has been there since the party started, thinking about it. I brushed it off earlier. Who wouldn't feel edgy, right? I got off a cover in a party hosted by the very person I'm investigating. That in itself is risky, has a plenty of rooms for error. Usually, though, the tension passes around the first half hour or so. I've been trained to remain composed in situations like this. However, with each second I spend here, it only grows heavier, seeking to overwhelm. An odd feeling that someone is watching me instead. Yes, people will be looking at me, no matter how small or big of a blimp I am on their radar. That's what they do in these things. After all, I'm someone they barely know, hardly belonging in their world. I stand out for one reason or another. I should already be used to it because of my training. But when the feeling of eyes burning into my back lingers longer than necessary, I know something is wrong. I've been looking around every now and then to catch the culprit guilty of the act. No luck. No matter my efforts to push the sensation as far down as I can, it really bothers me. Pinpricks stinging the back of my head, the ghost of a cold touch crawling, creeping up my limbs. Until I switch my gaze back to Rebecca and Hana Wright. Well! She stands there, dark-haired and dirty, sticking out like a sore thumb from the rest of the room. Even so, no one seems to notice. Though she's not looking straight back at me, her mere existence here strikes, disturbs. A sense of tunnel vision binds while I simply stand stock still and gap at her, like my life depends on making sure she stays where she is. I feel trapped under her presence, until another guest bumps into me, yanking me out of my stupor. Only then do I realize that I have been holding my breath. Before I can figure out what has happened, she's gone. Even if it's only for a split second, she's out of my sight. out of my line of sight. A quick scan of the room yields no sign of her. The party continues as if nothing amiss. I'm not really one to judge, but I'm sure someone like that would not have been allowed in a fancy thing like this. She would have been hauled out of here before she can say Jack Robinson. What has the security been doing? Are the security they hired really that incompetent for someone so distant to easily get in without notice? None of these snooty rich people have been affected by her presence either. There should have been an outcry about a dirty beggar by now, particularly from the host. She's been standing almost an arm's length away from the woman, and yet she simply continues her talk with Rebecca.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way.
Is there something in the food then? That I'm starting to see things? It couldn't have been the wine though. I'm every bit as sober as when I first stepped off my car. I didn't even take a single sip, despite taking a glass off from the buffet on my third trip back. The horse de Sephora? I've had so much after all. But why would anyone want to do that? Why would Luke Wright want to do that? He's fishy, though I can't see why he'll ever think it'll be a good idea to lace the food he'll serve in his party, with a high-ranking police officer like Chief Lee on his guest list to boot. He has been linked to narcotics trade, yep, however, this is above him. That much I can tell. Unless there's a mass murder awaiting to happen here tonight. Morbid thoughts aside, I don't feel any different. Can't tick off any symptoms of a hallucinogen in my system. Nobody else from the crowd look like they've been doped up as well. And we all been eating the same food. Both Rebecca and Zach appear fine to me. So...
What the fuck was that?
I really can't put it more eloquently than that. But there's no time to pull apart the meat of this mystery. Not when a telling silence comes upon the room and draws everybody's attention to the main doors of the ballroom. Where finally, Luke Wright decides to grace us lowly peasants with his noble existence.
About damn time.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
I've been tailing this guy for a while now. Before that, I heard stories from previous officers who has tackled this investigation. None of them are pleasant. Mind, I'm not counting the innocent with Professor Clark. Wait, incident. Yet, pleasant is glossing over the gravity of it. While Wright's good at covering whatever shady stuff he's doing, he's shown to be a real rotten guy. At least, that's what the case when he thinks none of his peers are around to judge him. I lost track of how many counts of verbal abuse and harassment cases the guy can be pinned with during the time I've been watching him. Fuck! He even tried to make a move on Isabella back in the open house, right in front of his wife. Standing in the same room as him now doesn't make me want to punch him any less. Please? Actually, the urge is stronger this time, but protocols! My case, first and foremost. My own opinion of the man shouldn't get ahead of my purpose here. If I want to put him in his place, it'll be in a court, with all proper charges filed against him. I'll only be able to progress to that once I gather enough evidence to pin this bastard down.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
Suppressing my annoyance, I prepare to step away from the crowd that has gathered around him. Amidst the cheers and claps, now is as good a time as any to move. Try to find that something the McConaughey woman talked about. In the first place, I have no plans to actually shake hands with the slimeball himself. A fake smile is plastered on my face, while I pretend to listen to one of the other guests gossiping about him, all while slowly inching out of the ballroom. Unfortunately, before I can get any further, the whole drama starts.
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle? Perhaps you need to sit down and...
Rich people only have two ways to resolve their mess. Either they quietly deal with it behind closed doors, or they create an even greater problem out of it, and it just blows up in everybody's faces one way or another. Becomes a chaotic wreck involving the media and every muckraker the story will reach. Fun.
No! Shut it, you monster! I ain't talking to you! I'm talking to this scumbag over here! You bloody bastard standing there with your smarmy smile!
Not even a few seconds in, and this is already proving itself to be a big public spectacle. Yeah. Why spend money on a television to buy daytime soap operas? You can just go to one of these and see the action unfold in real life. You get free food too. Really? If I were an actual guest, I'd just take this as some sordid form of amusement.
Watch your tongue! You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
But I'm not a guest who's here for a good time. I need to focus on him. Every mistake he might make, or words he might accidentally spill, even through this whole sorry tale. Hell, although I lost my chance because of this, the whole thing might still tell me something that will turn into a breakthrough for the case. This may just be what I need, really, instead of trying to sneak about. Odds are, security's all the tighter now. The guards on the edge for any other person who will try to take advantage of this. Damn, I should have left half an hour in. Still, if nothing from this, well shit, back to square one. Time to head back to where Shirley is and start thinking of my other options. No use staying longer if there isn't anything. For now, I wait, I listen, I observe. And interesting, isn't it though? That's the chief inspector's wife. October 29. The apartment hallway. Okay, so... this is the one she got possessed. The morning after starts off quiet. With the commotion from the night before, it's a little too surprising having to wake up this well rested. Even the whole Salem well residence seems unusually still. The open hallway, when I step out for a stretch, devoid of tenants out for the usual morning sweep of the grounds. No sounds coming from the other units either, or signs of other people just waking up. It's almost as if something's brewing on the horizon. A peaceful night's sleep. still does wonders for the mood though. I have Rebecca's unbelievably comfortable couch to thank for that, I guess. Oh, we're on the couch. No offense meant to Zach's couch, of course. It really is cozy, comparatively speaking. I can't even remember the last time I slept without anything urgently interrupting. It's a nice break from all the bad news lately. If it isn't for the intermittent buzzing from my pocket waking me up, I'll really sleep in, just to catch a few extra minutes of shut-eye. The ringing hasn't stopped before I can move somewhere private, but sleep has also been effectively kicked out of my system by then. Pity. I can use a little more rest until I have to face the other storm I created last night. Of course, I owe Rebecca an explanation. It doesn't matter if it's the whole truth or another hastily spun tale. Although I haven't really figured out the what and the how part yet. Unlike Zach and Isabella, who don't usually ask further questions and are content with what little I can share, Rebecca's rather quick on the trigger. Those Nancy Blue games we used to play as children, she's taking well to them. Not to the same degree as I have, but still keen enough to figure things out. It will have to be set aside for later, though. A second soon, my phone rings again, cutting off the rest of my thoughts.
Sup, I'm Ash from Deluxe City. Baggers watch out, can't beat me.
Oh hey, it's cracked! Wow, look at this phone. Chief Inspector Lee's name flashes on the screen. Sad. It would have been nice to just chill after last night or maybe half listen to the news. Sure, it's the same thing we've been hearing lately. Still beats standing outside in the chilly Luxembourg morning on phone with my boss. Sighing, I answer it, if only to get it over with. To hear him so grumpy, however. Now that's something I haven't expected from him at this hour.
Frey, where are you right now?
Sounds like someone got in a few drinks last night and is suffering for it in the morning. Just thinking about how this'll go gives me a headache. Immediately, I reach up a hand and pinch the bridge on my nose to stave it off.
This is why I won't ever drink myself senseless.
What was that?
Nothing, Chief. A pleasant morning to you too.
He's probably calling to rag on me or complain about what happened with his wife. Which is really none of my business unless it affects my case. It seems like the usual rich man cheats on wife deal. Although I would have chosen to follow up on it if it were somebody else's wife. But figuring it's the chief's, hey, I trust him to come clean if the missus is related to the Wright's shady dealings. This is why I left before they even hauled the woman out last night. I'm not going to go around investigating cheating husbands and wives when it's probably just that. Chief appears to have a different idea in mind, though.
There's nothing pleasant in the morning.
No.
Anyway, where are you? I told you millions of times before to keep your lines open.
He did. And not only him. Zach, Rebecca, Isabella, all of them have said the same thing numerous times in the past. But I was undercover last night. A phone call is the last thing I want to happen when there are other things I need to focus on at the time. Besides, we have the radios and the work-issued phones. Why isn't he calling me through those if this is urgent?
Just woke up, sir. As awesome as it is to hear your voice this morning, it really is early.
Tch!
If you could give me a few minutes just to wake myself up, that'd be swell.
No need for that. This won't take long.
Is something wrong? Am I needed at the precinct ASAP?
Oh no, everything's good over there. Just... Look, kid. Frey. Don't take this personally, alright?
Okay, let me just go grab my water because my throat feels personal. Okay, I'm back.
You're off the Luxborn firm case. Starting today.
Oh. Well, I didn't expect to hear that either. This must be some kind of cosmic joke. I allow some awkward seconds to pass. Chief must be pulling another one of his awful pranks. Out of his bad mood or severe hangover, maybe? That conclusion doesn't take too much brain power. Everyone knows that when given the chance, he exercises no control with his drinking. If it isn't for his wife causing a stir, he'll probably be trashed an hour at the party. He has likely drank more after they've thrown her out of the ballroom. Besides, his sense of humor has never been good. It's just infuriating most of the time. But when he doesn't follow it up. If I sound a tiny bit frustrated speaking to my own superior, I'm not the one to blame.
Wait, no. What? Are you kidding, Chief? Is this one of your practical jokes again? The temps won't say anything about it, but
It's not that. They're orders from the higher-ups.
Ah, the higher-ups, yes. My favorite word. Since when has the higher-ups ever cared about what the Criminal Investigation Department did? As far as I can tell, they don't give a hoot if CID is filled with cold cases, as long as we keep them spending low. As long as we keep the spending low. When I need to view those old case files, though, they're locked away in the archives. You're gonna have to check with the higher-ups. I need access to these reports. See if the higher-ups will allow it. Every step, every move in this case, there isn't one that hasn't been gated by some authority. If it's not the chief, it's the commissioner, or so they always tell me. It makes one wonder why they bother assigning it to anyone. Not a single one of them has done anything to help move the case. And they wonder why it hasn't taken this long for even a hint of progress to show.
you can't just drop this on me. You can't just take me off like that.
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry, Ashton. You're a good detective. One of the best I've seen in years, but
3 years, Chief. 3 years!
3 years since that anonymous tech leak blew up. Since Luke Wright's name has been openly linked to several nasty dealings within Luxborn's corporate world, some of them involving deaths. 3 years, and I'm the only one who has made it this far, made much progress officers with more experience haven't been able to do when they handled this case. Just within a year, and with barely any help from the damn press at that. Of course I'll be pissed.
Do you know what would have happened if I didn't work my ass off on this thing? If I didn't dedicate a whole year of my time on it? It would have gone cold, like every fucking case Luke Wright has been linked to. I saved this from getting thrown into the archives, sir. I'm getting close. If you could just...
I'm fully aware of what you've done, Frey, but the Commissioner hasn't been happy with your progress. Still too slow by their standards.
Too slow?
Oh god.
Well, what about those reports I filed? I've documented every freaking thing for them. I've given you every important lead I can gather. Isn't that enough?
They need results, not a bunch of research papers. Not one baseless assumption after another. Concrete proof, Frey. I'm really sorry. They've already made a decision. They're going to pass this on to someone who's been in the Force longer. Someone who has more experience.
Someone who has more experience?
They meant nothing by it, but you're still too young to work on a case this big.
Chief, I've already done more than what those old farts ever did behind their desks. All of it, within just a year of being assigned to this.
Watch your language, Frey. Those are your superiors,
I'm not some damn rookie fresh out of training. I'm as qualified as they are.
Futile. I know it. I know it is. They'll never say it within earshot, but from the very minute I step in their precinct, a lot of them has underestimated me. From their stares alone to the assignments I get. To them, I'm still just a kid. Too young, too green, too inexperienced. Once they pulled that card on me, every argument I have gets thrown out the window, no matter how logical it is. No matter how much I accomplished, what the records say, or the amount of work I've put on every investigation they throw my way.
We're all aware of your skills, kid. You wouldn't have that badge and rank if you weren't good enough. However, this case is just not for you. Too high profile, too risky to put a good officer like you in harm's way.
Can he even hear himself? That reasoning is odd in itself. No one joins this line of work without knowing the dangers of it.
Don't I get a second chance? You said it yourself. I'm a good detective. It'll just be a matter of time before we can close this.
It doesn't matter what I think, Frey. You're off the case, and that's final. I expect all related files and documents on my desk by Monday morning. And don't even try to go touch anything. I know how hard-headed and determined you are.
Chief, please. A few more weeks. I'll have the proper evidence left on your desk by then. I swear it won't take longer than that.
Fred, it's too late, boy. I've already informed the other officers. You aren't to be allowed access until you've been given a new assignment. Hell, just keep out of the precinct, Fred. Take the weekend off.
Seriously, Chief, is this about last night? If this is about me being at that party, I have a good reason for...
You were at the party.
It makes me pause. His wary tone, the sudden careful note in his voice. Slowly, a frown forms in my face, my brows knitting together in confusion. Much as I hate to say this about my own boss, there's also suspicion in it. Hard not to think of it that way, seeing how he acted around Hana Wright last night. Is he worried? But why should he? Anyone was invited. Granted, his presence sprouts plenty of questions, but I didn't doubt for 1 second why he received one. There's something wrong, and I unintentionally walked into it, in the process of saving all the work I've been doing. Who knows though? All I have is this sneaking suspicion, but when one looks at it from a different angle, put everything together, why the hell I've been taken off the case might be for the same reason he's there in the first place. Fuck.
Yes, Chief, I was. For a good reason. What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was...
He coughs, and it almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses, lies. I don't want to accuse him of anything, yet. He's someone I respected since I joined LPD, even with his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to procrastinate. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He won't be Chief Inspector of Luxembourg Police if he isn't. He won't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that too is a fluke. And what's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh. Oh shit. Fucking hell. Fucking shit.
Chief Harvey, about last night with the...
Why does it matter, Frey? This isn't about that.
What doesn't matter? What doesn't matter? I'll recite the whole oath we've taken upon being sworn into service if I can. But at this point, it seems too late to remind him of that. He's probably already moved from serving and protecting people to serving and protecting his own interests. Damn it. I suspected the upper brass of this, even the lower ranked subordinates in the force. But for my own boss? No shit. Well, shit. No wonder that leak didn't lead anywhere. Someone closer might have been pulling the strings. I might have been set up to fail long before the fucking case has been assigned to me. But I don't want to just give this up. I don't want to believe I wasted an entire year for this. I don't want this to be the kind of news to tell Professor Clark after all those promises I've given the man.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hannah right, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning. Every copy of the files you have, I want to see all on my table. Understood?
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer using that tone, brushing my questions off as easy as disregarding a dead body.
Yes. Yes, sir.